So my name is Alan Delaney. I'm originally from Newport Beach, California. I currently reside in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City. My background includes an extensive time in information technology where I served as many roles, honestly. But when I left that industry, I was the chief operating officer for a company called Otis Technologies. We were a software development firm specializing in asset tracking software. Nothing glamorous, but it did teach me a lot about databases, distributed databases, and intranets, internets. Some of our clients included Best Buy, Family Dollar, Chick-fil-A, Ralph Lauren, Build-A-Bear Workshop, Lowe's, Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, Victoria's Secret, and a whole bunch of other ones as well. And it was always interesting working with these people to improve their processes by making things more efficient, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight about our monetary system, is that making it more, efficient for sure. And the reason I tell you guys all this is, first of all, so you give me a little bit of, so that, you know me and what my background is, but I think that it gives me a little bit of special knowledge as it relates to the tracking of values, both financial and otherwise, presented in the technology that I'm going to share with you this evening. So I want to make a point now. This isn't a sales seminar. Sure, we're going to ask you to join us, no question about it, but it's an ask. It's not a force. It's not for everybody. We already know that. If you're comfortable where you are right now and you're in a place where, you've got the best life ever and you can't stand any more money in your wallet, I appreciate that, and you can move on. But if you're always looking to stretch yourself, step outside your comfort zone, this is certainly one way to do that. So this is an educational webinar with an emphasis on introducing the genesis of something I like to refer to as the Internet of Value. You see, when the Internet first started, when it was first introduced, it was called, it served really as the Internet of Information. And what do I mean by that? Well, you'd go to a website to learn more, right? You'd go to a website to read somebody's story. You go to a website to find out a bit more. I remember the first website that I visited was from a guy in Sweden, and I was in Huntington Beach, California at that time. And I was just blown away that I could actually read this guy's opinions and thoughts all the way from Sweden by typing in some address in a Netscape browser at that time. It was crazy, and I was hooked on it ever since. Then, as the technology matured, so did the possibilities of a bunch of new and exciting ways to apply the technology, and the transformation was made to the Internet of Things, and that's kind of where we are right now. So what do I mean? Well, there's a lot of things that are connected to the Internet, not just web browsers, right? Your mobile computing platform, your phone is connected to the Internet. Appliances are connected to the Internet. There's a thing called Ring that you can put at your front door that's connected to the Internet and actually shows you who's knocking on your front door through what? Your phone or your mobile computing platform. So the Internet of Things is kind of where we are today. Now, where we're going, though, and what is happening is something that I'll refer to as the Internet of Value. Now, it's still in its infancy, and my goal here this evening is to educate you on why this is the future, and more specifically, the future of finance, the future of banking, the future of money transfer, the future of remittance services, smart contracts, and a whole host of other amazing things as it relates to the banking and finance industry. And let's face it, guys, it's been the same for years, and almost everything that we do has changed. I know that we don't necessarily focus on that in our lives, but I'm going to share something with you in a few minutes that hopefully will make you think about that. And the good news is not only will we benefit as a society from these developments in technology, because we always do, but there is a possibility, and there always is, that you could position yourself for financial gain as well. I mean, let's face it, the dot-com boom was huge, and we're upon another one of those. So what I'd like to do now is set the table, and I'd like to, take us back in time just to set a context of what I'm talking about. Now, context is very important in my mind because, it really paints a picture that you may not always think about, okay? Because we all understand the Internet today. But it wasn't that long ago that very, very few people understood what that was. So I think that, this sets the stage for our conversation tonight. Check this out.
Success. I wasn't prepared to translate that. as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that
right.
little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it. I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard you around or about in the lunchroom the other week.
There it is. Violence at NBC, GE.com. I mean,
well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big? How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
Hashtag thank goodness for Allison, right? I mean, that is the Today Show in 1994, Katie Couric and a host of others, but it's pretty amazing that this is where the level of understanding was not that long ago, right? I mean, people didn't really understand it for almost all of society just a few short years ago. Now, here's the deal. Everybody on this webinar uses the internet in some way, either consciously or unconsciously, either on purpose or in some way with their device, because the internet has basically just become pervasive in our lives. It's ubiquitous. It's a part of everything we do, which leads me to this next thing that I want to talk about, and it is what people used to think of the internet before it actually became just a simple truth in our lives. You see, all truths pass through three stages, all right? The very first stage is that it's ridiculed. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just take the Wright brothers, for example. All right, now the Wright brothers come up with this idea that they're going to fly like a bird. They're going to build this device that's going to let them fly. Do you think they might have faced a little bit of ridicule? Do you think people thought they were nuts? All right, because that's what happens. When someone comes out with a new idea and they believe in it and it's their passion and they bring it to market, not everybody believes in it, so they ridicule it. That's what happens. There's another phase, though, and this is where it gets even worse. It's violently opposed. Dude, you can't fly that plane like that. It's going to kill you. We're not going to allow you to do this. Well, that's kind of where we are right now in the technology that I'm showing you now. But here's what happens after this. It's simply accepted as being self-evident. It's just a part of everyday life. It's just the truth. I mean, one of my friends that's on this call right now, a guy named Joby, he lives over in England, and he flew over here for an event that happened in Las Vegas last weekend. And I mean, did he fly? Do we fly every day? Are there hundreds, if not tens of thousands of flights every single day? Yes. But remember, it had to go through these three stages of truth before it just became a part of our everyday life. It's important to know that. Because here's somebody that ridiculed, maybe even opposed the internet back in 1995. This guy's name is Clifford Stoll. He's a computer scientist, right? And he published an article that Newsweek put in their magazine called Why the Internet Will Fail. And basically what he said was that things could never be sold on the internet. It would never be a conduit for commerce because it was missing one key component. Now, it's understandable why he would have thought this way in the beginning, but he said it doesn't have any salespeople, so it can't succeed. Why would he have said such a thing? Because that is the way up until this time, there was no e-commerce. There was no click and order. It was only bricks and mortar, right? There wasn't any of that. There was no Amazon, Alibaba, Overstock.com. The list goes on, Etsy, allowing people to put their own goods and services up, right? But I guarantee you, if we asked Jeff Bezos today if missing salespeople has affected his sales, the $260 or $247 billion that his company is worth, he'd probably argue the point. So this guy was wrong, but it's okay. So let's think for just a minute about how many amazing ideas and new technologies have influenced your life that simply did not exist a few short years ago. That's a rhetorical question. Write them down. You'll be amazed. The number is staggering. Let's start with just a couple. On August 6, 1991, British computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee comes up with a protocol called HTTP. We've all seen that. We've all heard it, HTTP://. That stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That enabled the internet to host an application called the World Wide Web, is what most people call it. All right? Don't get confused. The web is not the internet. The web is an application that runs on top of the internet, one of many. Okay, and here's a quote from him that I just love. It says, "The web as I envisioned it is, we haven't seen it yet. The future is still so much bigger than the past." Why is that? Because the world is full of visionaries. The world is full of people who have big ideas. The world is full of people who step outside their comfort zone. Why? Because they imagine something better. They imagine a better way. And this guy knew with this invention that he came up with that people were going to come up with other technologies that were just going to make it amazing. And that has continued on. For example, Jeff Bezos, July 5th, 1994, starts a company with a $100,000 loan from his parents in his garage. It was named Cadabra. Right? His attorney said, "You better change the name. It sounds too much like cadaver." He changed it to Amazon. The rest is history. It's valued at $246.7 billion, which is about $16 billion more than Walmart. Okay, again, it doesn't look like Jeff and Amazon are missing those salespeople whatsoever. And he's just one side. I mean, there's a whole other one, Alibaba out of China, that's just amazing as well. Okay, from there we go to September 4th, 1998. Larry Page, Sergey Brin. They're attending Stanford University. They come up with a new search algorithm. All right, algorithm's a big word in what we're going to be talking about tonight. But basically, it was a process by which they could return better search results. This thing was called Backrub, and it was just an experiment, right, as they were going to school there. But it became so popular over the existing Yahoos and everything else that was out there, Alta Vista at the time, that was out there, that it literally shut down the servers at Stanford University. Google was born, and the rest is history, as they say. All right, how about February 4th, 2004? Mark Zuckerberg, along with the Winklevoss twins and some other guys, all got together. Mark's the one who came out of the scrum, right, with a product called Facebook whose original idea and purpose was to create a social platform for students. That's it. Okay, his success has become so great that if we were measuring by number of members, Facebook, if it were a nation, it would have the third largest population in the world. This is one of the youngest billionaires of all time, and he's got his fingers in all kinds of pies. Another one I'm going to share with you in just a little bit. But imagine life without Facebook. I know many of you couldn't stand that thought, right? Bigger than TV. But on June 29, 2007, Steve Jobs would challenge his engineers to create something called a touch screen for a phone. This is the game changer, folks. This was the beginning of what is now known, and I like to refer to as a mobile computing platform. Look, I'm old, all right? I was born in 1959, and I remember TVs that were tethered to a wall. All right, the only thing that made that phone mobile was a longer cord, but it never went outside the house, right? This isn't a phone, guys. My phone that was tethered to a wall never took pictures. My phone that was tethered to a wall never let me check my banking account information visually. It didn't do any of the stuff that this did. I assure you this is not a phone. It is a mobile computing platform which allows you to make phone calls, which allows you to take pictures, which allows you to do tons of amazing stuff. You can be halfway across the world with this device called Ring that's at your front door, and someone rings your doorbell, and guess what? You get a notification, a video notification to your phone of who's knocking on your door. So much more than just a phone. And this would change the world. Now, all these things have one thing in common. They're all digital, and they all disrupted the way that we did stuff before they came along. Mass social acceptance. These are huge concepts in what we're talking about here tonight. For example, the postage stamp. Email. Is it better? It's different. All right, some people may like to send a handwritten letter, but is it more efficient? No. Is it more cost savings? No. Email blows away the parcel post system. Let's face it. You can send letters or communications all over the world with a touch of a few keystrokes. It's way better. It's digital, and it practically put the mail business out of business. How about Blockbuster? All right, talk about an ostrich. They had their head in the sand. Right? Now known as Block Busted. Why? Because they weren't paying attention when a little company called Netflix decided that, hey, people don't have to run down and rent anything, do they? They just can stream it to their living room, don't have to take it back. All right, how many times way back in the day did you sit on your couch and go, oh my gosh, I forgot to take back the movies. I got to pay a late fee. You just sucked it up and went and did it, right? But Blockbuster wasn't paying attention. Netflix hammered them, put them right out of business. Again, digital content delivery that disrupted the way that we rent movies, flat out. How about this? When was the last time you let your fingers do the walking? How about never? Those things right there are nothing more than paperweights. I don't even know why they print it anymore. All right, we use what? Google or some other search engine that you enjoy. All right, Google's become so pervasive in our life, we've turned it into a verb, right? We don't say search it anymore, do we? Go search it on the internet? No, what do we say? We say go Google it. We don't say go Yahoo it. We don't go say Bing it. We don't do any of that. We say Google it. Google it has taken the marketplace by storm. And of course, there's that phone I was talking about. The only way it was mobile was by a long cord. Those don't even exist anymore. That's a museum piece for sure, a fossil being replaced by what we just referred to as a mobile computing platform, iPhones, Androids, and now Google is in the phone business, and I understand that the Pixel is a real good phone. Again, guys, this is digital technology moving forward that has absolutely changed the way the society operates. Disruption is essential to the innovation of moving forward. We live in a digital world. So why is money still paper and coin? Well, it's not entirely, but that is the next thing that we're going to talk about, is how we're going to digitize and make the banking and finance industry. And I'm not just talking about just money. I'm talking about smart contracts. I'm talking about all kinds of different things that can exist in this new technology, the banking and finance industry. See, traditional banking is facing a boatload of challenges. What are some of them? Well, number one, they don't deliver the level of customer service that their customers are expecting, especially as it relates to technology. It's just the same old thing. You go and sign up for a checking account, you still get that goofy little thing that nobody ever fills out in the back to reconcile your checkbook. Come on, that thing's been around since 1930. How about regulatory requirements causing banks to spend way more money of their discretionary budgets on building computer-based systems, digital systems, and processes to keep up with the escalating requirements? Therefore, those fees are passed on to the customer. Let's face it, right? That's why fees are high, one of the reasons anyways. And customer dissatisfaction with what? What did I just mention? Abusive fees for services such as monthly maintenance, transfer fees, and a whole host of other services are at an all-time high. But there is one reason that it really is facing challenges, and I'm going to show you a video in a second, short one, that's going to touch on this, but it's the increasing competition from smaller organizations, from financial technology companies known as fintech companies. They are truly disrupting the way that traditional banking has been done. This creates a huge challenge for traditional banks because they're not able to adjust quickly to the changes. I'll give you an example. Back when I was the COO of Otis Technologies, we had a big customer, Family Dollar. And Family Dollar probably spent $3 million a year at our software firm, which always blew my mind because they have a magnificently huge IT department. And I would always ask the buyers, because we were tracking assets, I'd say, why don't you guys just go to your own IT department and have them do it? They said, well, they can't get it done. They cannot react to our needs as fast as you can because you guys are, a group of 15 programmers, a company, 30 employees, and You know, you guys react to us better. Same thing's happening here. Smaller companies are making bigger changes in an industry that's antiquated and old because they are nimble. They can move quickly, and they can address the challenges where bigger banks simply cannot. And here's an example of that. This is Catherine Besant. She's a chief operations and technology officer for one of the biggest banks in the world, Bank of America. Now, what we're talking about, here's a trend now. She doesn't even know. I want you guys to listen to the words she uses, like Neanderthal, and we don't even know what the practical application is going to be commercially. But we know that we have to be involved. We know. Listen to this. This is crazy.
How infant are you on blockchain?
Well, blockchain is very intriguing, and for us, it's a balance between not wanting to be Neanderthal, but not wanting to put something out in a commercial application where the commercial application is still very unclear. As a technologist, the technology is fascinating, and we have tried to stay on the forefront. I think we have somewhere around 15 patents. Most people would be surprised. A Bank of America with patents in the blockchain or cryptocurrency space. Very important in the intellectual property world to reserve our spot even before we know what the commercial application might be. So very intrigued technologically, but what's the commercial application?
Some blockchain developers are skeptical. They say actually big business don't understand what we're doing. They don't understand the practical applications. And as you say, you're kind of getting in there early. You've got your hands on it, even if you don't understand actually what you have your hands on.
Well, the first definition of a Neanderthal is denial, right? So the whole idea would be not to start from that perspective.
Did you hear those words that she was using? All right. One of the things that she said was to lock our spot or get our position, get our spot. Okay. Get in there. That is something that you need to be thinking about here this evening. It's called first mover advantage. This gigantic bank understands that concept in business. All right. People who, sure, is it risky? Is being a first mover, is being a pioneer, a trailblazer risky? Of course. But that, folks, is where all the reward is. Again, if your wallet's as fat as you can stand it, then don't do it. It's perfectly fine. But first movers, trailblazers, people like this lady positioning her company in front of a technology that I'm going to share with you how you can position yourself in front of is a huge deal. Look at the players. Goldman Sachs, Barclays, UBS, of course, Bank of America, Bank of England, Citi, Fidelity Investments. The list goes on and on and on. I'm just touching on a few big names that people know here. Okay, so why is there so much interest in this technology? It's simple. Business, baby, business. Over 2.3 billion people without banking services in the world. It's nuts in every country, every corner of the world, not just the underdeveloped nations. And I'm telling you, here's the reason why. The Global Findex database says this. All right, lack of enough money to use an account. Do we know that to be true? Of course we do. If the fees are greater than the money you can hold in an account, there's no point in having one. Distance to financial institutions. All right. Sometimes it's not convenient to get to a bank. Prohibitive costs, lack of trust in the banking system, and devaluations. I know that everybody, well, at least in the United States, can understand the bailouts of 2008 that crushed the value of our dollar. It's happened in Cyprus. It happened in Greece. It almost happened in Italy, or partway did, where people couldn't even go to the bank and get their money. Crazy. You want to talk about breaking trust and in our banking system? People put money in a bank because they think it's safe. Well, you need to think again. Here's the simple but painful truth, guys. Only 41% of adults in developing economies have a bank account or any other kind of savings account or anything. That number drops to just over 20% among adults living in extreme poverty. All right. Women in particular are largely excluded from the formal financial system, and only 37% of women have accounts compared to 46% of men. This is not good. There are answers out there. And like I said, this is big business, and this is why these banks are interested, but they're not the only ones. These two guys are paying attention. So should you, because these are two pretty bright guys. This is Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. You heard me mention their name before. They had a little something to do with Facebook, right? They are the co-founders of something called the Gemini Exchange. The Gemini Exchange is a Bitcoin exchange That is one form of cryptocurrency. I own some. I suggest you do too. Okay, this is what they have to say. It's the smartest people in the room that are most excited about this. Then they ponder and say, so what are they seeing? It's called cause and effect. Why are smart people interested in this technology? Why do people that have been successful before me, why are they interested in this technology? Well, let's find out. Sir Richard Branson says this: it feels strange to think of a world without cash. No more notes or coins to find down the back of the sofa. But it appears that's the way things are heading. This guy, the founder of the Virgin Group, owns his own island, owns some spaceship, owns a ton of airplanes, Virgin Atlantic Airways, got his start by producing music, with Virgin Records. I mean, the guy is a human success story. Turns everything into gold. How about Ben Bernanke? He was a former Federal Reserve Chairman. That's the central authority here in the United States that prints our money, and way too much of it. He says virtual currencies may hold long-term promise, particularly if the innovations promote a faster, more secure, and more efficient payment system. And that's what digital does. It is faster. It is more secure because we're talking about cryptographically secured money, and it's more efficient in so many ways. All right. And my favorite, Bill Gates, of course. This is a very specific statement. He says in the future, financial transactions will be digital. That's specific. Will be digital. Not might be, maybe, could be, should be, might possibly be. They will be digital. These are the guys that are visionaries. This is the guy who, could build the plane and see how it could fly and all that kind of stuff. He's the one who put all of the computers on business desktops around the world. They'll be universal and they'll almost be free. Well, here's the deal. Do you think that free transactions is an appealing thing to those that are paying fees right now that are ridiculous? Of course it is. You can go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on the web, and you can see that they have issued grants into the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on technology, just like what we're talking about, payment systems around the world. Countries are on board. Sweden is down to just 3% of the national economy. They are claiming that they are going to be the first cashless society. How about Kenya? 19 million Kenyans subscribe to M-Pesa. M for mobile, Pesa is Swahili for money. That's a cashless payment system that has now gone from Kenya and spread to 5 other countries. All right, there's also one in India called bKash that's just about as big. And I mentioned to you I'd be talking about Mark Zuckerberg again. Mark Zuckerberg is currently trying to purchase M-Pesa. That's how again, these are clues, guys, when people like this are looking at these kinds of technologies. Now, BA International in Canada, that's their central authority that prints money, or one of them. All right. As of January 1st, 2013, no more Canadian currency is being printed. In fact, Canada is taking it a step further, and they are getting on board as a country in creating a digital economy using digital transacting and digital money. Check this out.
Ever since the beginning of time, people have been buying and selling and using whatever currency was available. But today's digital economy is changing faster than ever, and currency has to change too. It is. Introducing Mint Chip from the Royal Canadian Mint, the evolution of currency. Money, as we know it, is fine for today, but tomorrow is a different story. Imagine a whole new breed of transactions that are smaller, faster, and virtually everywhere. That's where Mint Chip comes in. Mint Chip is currency in a digital form. Using a chip, you securely load value onto a smartphone, USB device, computer, tablet, or cloud. Maybe even some future device that doesn't even exist yet. Now you're ready to go. It's so easy that even a child can use it, especially for their allowance. Mint Chip is better than cash since you can use it online. And merchants will easily and cost-effectively be able to offer digital content in the form of small and extremely small online transactions. Things like buying a song, a news article, or a nifty glow-in-the-dark laser for your favorite online game character. All for a few pennies. Virtual, of course. Plus, no personal data is required or exchanged, whether you're buying a decaf latte, a Canadian history article for school, or paying back that $10 you borrowed last week. Mintship is harnessing some of North America's best brain power. We are changing the future. You can too. Mintship from the Royal Canadian Mint. The evolution of currency.
That, my friends, is where things are headed. I want to recap just a few things that are said in that video that are super important to understand about it. So we want to talk about why cryptocurrency is a better way. Well, they just pointed it out. Currency has got to change too. The rest of the world is becoming more digital, and that was one of the first things they said. Currency has got to change too. It's faster. All right. We live in a microwave society. We want things now, right? When was the last time you went to Google and did a search and clicked on the very first link? And if it took longer than 2.5 seconds to fully load, you're on to the next link. You're like, wow, that website sucks, right? It's virtually everywhere. Remember I said cross-border, it's more efficient. All right. Again, you can load value. What did I say in the very beginning? The internet of value. It's upon us, all right? And it's safer and more secure because no personal data is transacted. How many times? I mean, who remembers Target stores here in the U.S.? And I don't know if they're abroad or not, but, getting hacked. And my bank 2 days later canceled all my debit cards because we had shopped there. I mean, that was a huge hack. So why is cryptocurrency a better way? Well, number one, I just touched on it. It's more secure. This next piece is huge. It was a fixed amount. All right, when I said the bailouts of 2008 that central authorities have broken their promise to the people, not just in the U.S., all over the world, these fiat currencies are being overprinted to compensate for down economies. Let's throw some more money at it. That does not work because what happens to the money in your bank account when money that's backed by nothing is overprinted? And folks, if you're new on this call, please don't be confused by a time back before 1971 when the whole world was on a gold standard. We're not. There's nothing, zero, backing our U.S. dollar or any of the other fiat currencies in the world right now. So don't ask somebody, well, gee, what backs cryptocurrency? The same thing that backs the money you have right now, nothing. All right, it's backed by mathematics. There's a fixed amount, and so it can't be devalued by a central authority. That is a huge advantage over paper money and a central authority like our Federal Reserve who just decides to put the U.S. government into more debt and print more money, devaluing the dollars that we currently have. It's darn near counterfeit proof. I'm not going to say nothing's impossible, but it's certainly a far cry safer than our current money system. All right, negligible fees, which we talked about. Wouldn't that be nice? All right, there are people all over the world doing all kinds of things. They need, for example, I met a young man in ministry the other night who helps people that are coming from Haiti and coming into the Dominican Republic. And I said, do they send money back? And he said, yeah. And I go, how do they do that? And he said, through Western Union or MoneyGram. And I said, those fees are ridiculous. He said, they are ridiculous. We're meeting tomorrow, by the way. All right. This is a more efficient way to do business, banking business in a digitally evolving economy. So what is this stuff that I'm talking about? What is a blockchain? And what is cryptocurrency? Well, remember earlier when I said there was this thing called the internet and there was a protocol called HTTP that most people actually think the web is the internet. A lot of people do. And that's okay because that's the biggest part of the internet we use besides email, right? Well, blockchain is, look at it in these terms. Again, to put it into context, blockchain is like the internet and cryptocurrency is like the web. Cryptocurrency is only one of many applications that will be running on the blockchain. Now, the blockchain runs on what? The internet. All right. So there's a big relationship there. So before I can answer these questions, we need to step way back in time and do a lesson on money. All right. So I realized that way back in the Roman days, they traded other things besides precious metals. I'm not going to go that far back in time. All right. But we're going to be talking about precious metals, gold and silver, right? Guy would ride into town on his horse back in the Wild West days, and he might have a saddlebag full of rocks called gold and metal or silver, whatever. And he would use that to buy his whiskey or play cards. Not real convenient, right? It had to be weighed. So we had to come up with a better way. That better way was paper and coin money. And again, until 1971, it was backed by gold and silver. Actually, the dollars here in the United States were called gold and silver certificates. And they said on them, payable to the bearer on demand, $20 in gold, or $10 in silver, or whatever. You could literally go to a bank and they had to have some gold in their reserves or silver in their reserves, and they would weigh out that much of it and they would give it to you. Okay, that can't happen anymore. All right, this is just a promissory note. From there, things started to get digital. For those of you that don't understand the banking and finance industry, I suggest that you go on YouTube and search out fractional reserve lending system. And then you will understand how money is actually created out of thin air. And credit cards are exactly creating money out of thin air. Why? Because when you get a credit card and it comes in the mail, okay, and it's, stuck to a piece of paper with that gummy stuff, and it's got a $10,000 limit, and you look behind the card, are there $10,000 worth of bills back there? Is there really money behind that card? The answer is heck no, there isn't. No money is transacting. All right, they run this thing called a credit report, and based on your worthiness to pay the bill, they'll give you a credit line. Then you run down and you spend some money or spend some credit. You're not spending money. You're spending credit. You're moving digital numbers around the internet is what you're doing. All right, so you go down, you get a brand new washer, dryer, you pay $900 for it or whatever. Let's just say $1,000 out of your 10. All right, they run your credit card, and guess what? The MasterCard company there, they debit your account and make it $9,000 worth of credit left, and that $1,000 purchase gets debited to the other people's account. They're paid. All right, when the bill comes, you don't pull out a bunch of $100 bills and run down to your MasterCard company and pay that bill, do you? Heck no, you don't. All right, what you do is you get into online banking and you instruct an application, or maybe you write a check, a piece of paper that's not worth the ink it's printed on, to instruct your bank to do what? Move more ones and zeros around to get the vendor paid. There's no money here, folks. No money. No money. All right, so we leave that idea and we go on to the online payment systems like PayPal, Pop Money, Rocket Pays, Venmo. Of course, Facebook has one of their own. If you don't have Facebook Messenger, it's really pretty cool. It's kind of fun. You can transfer, you can text money to your friends. It's awesome. Of course, you have to put your banking account information in your phone. All right, and it draws it right out of your bank, but it's pretty instantaneous and it's pretty darn cool. Only takes a day for you to get credited. It's pretty neat. All right, and plus they're trying to buy a cashless payment system. From there we move on to the digital wallets. Google Wallet, Samsung Pay, Apple Pay, Android Pay. There's several. I use Apple Pay all the time. But these last three things, the credit and debit cards, the payment systems, online payment systems, and digital wallets, all have one main thing in common, and that's that they are still connected to the fiat currency system. They are still requiring banking information in order to move money around, whether it's digital money or not, and it is digital money. That's a fact. But you got to have, money in the bank to use them. So the next move is to move away from that bank or any central authority, and that's where cryptocurrency comes in. You see, cryptocurrency is created through a system of algorithms run by computers, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The first of its kind was one called Bitcoin. In October 31st, 2008, a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto, who we now know was an Australian guy, kudos to the Aussies, right, created this thing. But at the time, nobody knew whether Satoshi Nakamoto was a real person, a group of people, or anything else, all right? But Bitcoin was created to provide an alternative to the banking system, and it worked. Okay, unlike most currencies, cryptocurrency is issued according to a fixed set of rules. I mentioned that. Okay, algorithms solve mathematical problems that then generate this fixed set of currency and gets it out into the money flow. Now, here's the deal. Okay, we're going to talk about this just a little bit, but when Bitcoin first started, it was really just traded among the people who were mining the coin, i.e. members, all right? They weren't really members because there was no club like we have, all right? We have membership to our idea, but it was still only worth something to somebody if they wanted it. They weren't really buying things until a guy put up in their, whatever you call those, the board that he was communicating on, the thread, right? He was chatting with a bunch of people, and he said, hey, I'll offer 10,000 Bitcoins to anybody who will call my local pizza parlor and order me some pizzas. A guy in England did that. This guy was in Florida, and he sent him 10,000 Bitcoins. The light bulbs went off. They were like, holy smokes, that guy just used Bitcoin to buy pizzas. Now, he used an intermediary, a guy who was willing to use real money, but it worked. And now those pizzas are known as the most expensive pizzas in the world. Today, Bitcoin, I didn't look at it today, but yesterday it was in the 700s, somewhere around there. 10,000 Bitcoins that are valued over $700 a piece. You do the math. Those were pretty darn expensive pizzas. Now, I tell you this story because it's important to understand that's the phase that we're in the cryptocurrency that we're going to share with you. We are not yet out of the pizza phase, so we're trading amongst ourselves, but that is soon to change. So how is it created? I touched on it, right? It's mined like gold. This is a series of computers that are either use a proof of stake or a proof of work concept that says, hey, I've got a copy of a ledger, and my ledger matches your ledger. When enough ledgers match, it's validating the transaction. Perfect. You don't need a central authority or anything else. Once a block fills up with transactions, it's linked to another block. It's done so by matching the final entry in the preceding block to the first entry in the next block. When the computer figures that problem out, which is a cryptographic problem, cryptocurrency is created. Now that will only happen a fixed number of times, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. So it's just like gold, it's programmed to be scarce. This is an important concept, all right? Because if we can walk out our front door, right, and find all the gold we wanted on our front lawn, would it be worth what it is worth today? Of course it wouldn't be worth that much. And that's why when this idea was created, it gets more difficult over time through something called the difficulty factor. All right? As more and more people join the party here, as more people are looking for this, as more people are joining mining pools, it gets more difficult to get your piece of the pie, just like mining for gold. The more miners that are in a cave, pickaxe in the wall, the less of it you're going to find for yourself as if you were alone. It's all in the difficulty factor, and it's a thing of beauty because it has an organic scarcity which keeps its value rising, and it's a wonderful thing. All right, so here's an example. In 2009, a single Bitcoin was valued at just 10 cents. All right, now remember, it was October it was in October of the preceding year, all right, that it was created. By 2009, they were valued at just 10 cents. Big deal, right? But more and more people started catching on to this idea, and more people started mining for Bitcoins. 2 years later, November 2013, a single Bitcoin was valued at $1,242.03. So what do I mean by that? These aren't physical coins, guys. These are digitized serial numbers. That's what a coin is. A Bitcoin, a Litecoin, a Doggy coin, an Ethereum coin, pick your coin, a OneCoin. They are digitized serial numbers, just like the serial number that appears on the dollar bill in your wallet or the $100 bill or whatever you're carrying around. Except those aren't digitized. They're on a piece of paper. Same concept. Very simple. Okay, don't make this more complicated than it is, but I ask you one question. Had you done what Catherine Besant of Bank of America is trying to do and saw the trend before it was huge, tried to position yourself, tried to lock in your spot, if you will, tried to be a first mover, how happy would you have been if you were in the 10-cent phase and you managed to hang on to it even partially up the way of $1,242? You'd be doing the happy dance all over the place, all right? So here's someone that did just that. His name is Jared Kenna. He's a Bitcoin millionaire. He served in the U.S. military, he had tours in Afghanistan, also in Chile. And one of the things that he noticed when he was in those countries was how difficult it was to transact, how hard it was for money to move around. In fact, in Afghanistan, women weren't even allowed to have a bank account. There's a great story in a book called The New Age of Cryptocurrency. It's a thick book. But in the beginning, it explains how a woman could not sell her goods on Etsy, of all places, because she couldn't accept payment until cryptocurrency came around. And because it was anonymous, nobody in Afghanistan could tell it was actually a woman who was receiving payment. Pretty cool story. Okay, he purchased his first round of Bitcoins for 20 cents a pop. Okay, he spent a total of $1,000 US, held on to them, and he traded them when they were worth $258 a piece. Genius. That's about $1.29 million in profit. He then went on, he didn't stop there. He went on to found a company called TradeHill.com, which became the second largest Bitcoin exchange in the world. He also founded a company called 20 Mission. It's a San Francisco think tank for new technologies that have to do with the blockchain and several other things, and it is located on the famous Mission Street in San Francisco. All right, there are literally hundreds of cryptocurrencies to choose from since Bitcoin was the first. Each one of these that you see here is a different cryptocurrency, and there's at least 700 to 800 of them. So what in the world do I need to look for? All right, well, we're going to show you why we think that OneCoin is one that's a mover and a shaker. All right, think of yourself as Catherine Besant in this next phase of this presentation, because you need to be a first mover in this idea. One of the things that we understand as a company is you have to have community around your currency. If no one knows about it, then no one wants to spend it or get it. And we have done literally an amazing job with 2.7 million users, all right, in our cryptocurrency community. We are the largest by way of community and several other ways as well with a cryptocurrency. What does that mean? Well, it should mean great promise is ahead. Again, there's no promises here, but one of the reasons why this is because rather than being completely anonymous, our ownership is out front. This is our founder and owner. Her name is Dr. Ruja Ignatova. She was born in Sofia, Bulgaria, raised in Germany. She studied for a law degree at Oxford University, had a master's degree in economics from Constance University, studied for a PhD in law from the University of Oxford in Constance, wrote a thesis on corporate litigation within the European Union. All right, brain power du jour this lady has. Former associate partner with McKinsey & Company. You can go to the McKinsey Consulting website, type in Dr. Ruja Ignatova, and you can actually see some of the papers and some of the projects that she worked on while consulting with that firm. She also is a former CEO and CFO of one of the biggest asset management funds in Bulgaria, managing over 250 million euro assets. This lady knows a thing or two about money, and she's out front with who she is, which is not all that normal in the cryptocurrency space. Most recently, for The Economist magazine, I'm sure most of you have heard of that magazine. All right, if you haven't, look it up. She was a speaker in her home country of Sofia. And here's what I want to tell you about this. Okay, there was about 40 people, and I only picked 4, that were in the audience taking advice from the speakers. She was one of the main speakers talking about the future of payments, remittances, how money's going to work in the future, how to make it more efficient, cryptocurrency and its roles, all these things, to people like Carl Bildt, former Prime Minister of Sweden. Remember, Sweden boasting to be the first country to be completely digital in its economy. Meglena Kuneva was a deputy prime minister for European policies, coordination, and institutional affairs in Bulgaria. Nikos Kabanopoulos, obviously Greek, all right, was a general manager for Visa in Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Eastern Europe. These are hitters, right? And Marko Jurcic, an economic advisor to the president of Croatia, the president of a company. This is a guy who advises a president on the economy, all right? And this is who she's speaking to, all right? Again, the lady knows her stuff. She was on Forbes Brand Voice cover. Now, let me explain to you what that is. That is not Forbes magazine. It is an ad that is put out by Forbes magazine called Brand Voice, all right? So what is it? Well, first of all, it's about $250,000 to $300,000 to be a part of this idea. If you qualify, because they have a meticulous vetting process, you have to know your stuff. No Yahoo off the street who doesn't know what they're talking about can get themselves on this cover no matter how much money they throw at Forbes. You have to qualify. Super, super important. She was on the cover of that. We're super excited about that. And most recently, she was on the cover of Financial IT Magazine. This is a magazine that is subscribed to by over 2,000 banks and financial institutions. The interview was conducted by the publisher of the magazine. Essentially, again, it covers the latest trends in payments, cash management, remittances, the future of monies, and all these kinds of things. Listen to what he had to say, all right, after the interview. OneCoin is leading the charge of acquiring the masses into the cryptocurrency shift across the globe. They're doing an amazing job at taking what normally is a complicated idea of cryptocurrency and making it ultra simple and easy to understand so anyone can get involved and profit from it. That's a strong quote. You can get a copy of this magazine by going to financialit.net. And you can order as many copies as you like. You see, educating the world about what is coming is what we're all about. Even major universities are seeing the future. Duke University, University of Maryland, MIT. There's a school in Cyprus that actually accepts cryptocurrency, teaches the courses in the way of not only for courses that you can take, but for tuition. Princeton University, NYU, Stanford, of course, all offering courses ranging anywhere from $13,000 to $18,000. Well, we do the exact same thing because education is our product. Today, you can go to oneacademy.eu and you can view what our products are. There's a list of them there on the right. There's even a few more. This information is available in 231 countries, 1.7 million students enrolled, 20 different languages, 1,800 minutes of video, and 18 individual trainings. I suggest that you go to that website and read more about that. What you get with your membership here is a bunch of different websites. Of course, the One Life website, you get access to the OneCoin website, the One Academy website that we just talked about. You get your very own exchange at XCoinX, and you get a back office. I'm going to have to update that slide because our back office has changed dramatically since I put this on there, all right? So here's the deal. Our coin over time continues to trend upward. Now, I want you to understand there are no guarantees. There's no price guarantee implied here. This is for illustration purposes only. But this is an accurate depiction of exactly what has happened. My wife and I were lucky enough to get involved when the coin had a value of $1.78. Very early on, June of last year. All right, so we've been blessed in that way because today the coin has a value of $8.38. Now, again, folks, I want you to understand. I said earlier that in the beginning of Bitcoin, the coin was really just traded among the members, if you will, the miners that were mining the coin, who had downloaded the software, who were participating in mining that coin. Okay, we are in that phase right now, but that's about to change. We are about to have many, many merchants that are going to accept our coin. When that happens, then the coin will start to become a usable coin out in the marketplace to buy real goods and services. And who knows, from that point on, the sky is the limit, something that's very exciting. So don't wait. Don't procrastinate. That never got anybody anything but a headache. Look, The time to act is now. This is our most popular package. It's called a Tycoon Plus. Now, if you don't have 7,500 euro, I understand. We have packages ranging from free, and I know you got that, all the way up to the sky's the limit, all right? 100, 500 euro, 550 euro, whatever. Just get with a person that invited you here and decide where you want to play, but play. I beg of you, play, because this is going to add to your portfolio and it's going to be a wonderful thing. The reason that this is one of our most popular educational packages is that it contains 5 levels of our One Academy educational modules. Now, what are those? Well, those are our the One Academy is our educational modules to raise your financial IQ. Not just on cryptocurrency, but the way that markets work. Buying, selling, trading, all those different things. It also contains 81,818 free promotional tokens. I like to call those mining credits because it is those promotional tokens that the company gives away for free that allow you to go in and join our mining pool and create your very own digital assets called OneCoins that down the road will get into circulation and hopefully be valued at something greater than the free that you paid for them, right? It includes our exclusive auto mining feature. See, this is a very simple way to mine, no configuring of any chips. You don't have to be running software on your local PC, paying for cooling bills and all that stuff and checking on it consistently. All you do is set it and forget it. We have a real easy mining process, and this provides an optimized trading experience for you. So I'm about to bring this plane in for a landing. I know we're in the dark here, but there's a reason why this exists the way that it is. All right, I've shown you big hitters, Catherine Besant, giant banks, Citigroup, Fidelity, Bank of England, big players, Goldman Sachs, whole countries, The Economist magazine, digital ideas that are moving forward in society, an antiquated banking system. Yet, you had a friend that invited you to this idea, and you're going to decide, I don't know if I should trust him. So what are you going to do? Let me tell you what you're going to do. You're going to go out and you're going to find this guy, Billy the Blogger, friend of nobody, right? This guy's a self-proclaimed crusader, here to save the world from everything bad. And sadly, some of you are going to trust somebody that you don't even know more than the friend that invited you to this information. And if you do, I get it. That's up to you, all right? But let me tell you what Billy's motto is, right? Here's the first thing. First of all, he's going to find the hottest topics on the net to talk about, right? And if you think that he's going to talk positively, well, that's not what leads, right? Back to the old days of print media, if it bleeds, it leads, the news media and all that kind of stuff. Well, listen, there's a website out there called Alexa. And when I did this last week, I said we were about number 5,700. I checked it after that. We were actually 3,600. That's ranked 3,600 out of the billions, and I mean billions of websites that exist on the internet today. That, my friends, is a very hot topic, all right? They find those highest traffic sites. They use that tool, all right, to talk about what everybody's looking for. It's crazy. They give the people their opinion. Look, everybody's got an opinion, right? This is an opinion editorial. That's what a blog is. Citizen journalists. And they are violently opposing OneCoin right now. Why? Because we're not anonymous. Why? Because we're private. Why? Because we're building a better mousetrap. All right, imagine this. Imagine the original plane of the Wright brothers without the new idea that's a better plane. All right? That's all I'm talking about here. Just because we're doing a little bit different, we are really in the vehemently opposed phase of the three truths. But they'll learn, all right, we are being, it doesn't really matter what this guy thinks, and I hope that you don't put your faith in him. Then he's going to use the traffic that he drives to sell his services, products, or advertising to his audience. Then he's going to rinse and repeat. And that's how a blogger makes money. They're motivated by money, all right? And that's what happens. Now, this is to say that all bloggers don't have, some good things to say, But that's exactly what happens here. And I hope that you are a critical thinker and that you can make your own mind up. Look, don't trust Billy, trust yourself and trust your instincts. All right. And if your instincts tell you that this isn't for you, I understand. The person that invited you here would understand. Remember, I told you this isn't a sales presentation. We're only exposing you to the information. You have to make your own mind up. And if your mind is not to join us, we wish you nothing but the best of luck in all your endeavors, no matter what those are. Just please trust the friend that brought you here tonight. Get off your duff. Join us. Have some fun. It's a great time, and it is the future of money. Guys, thanks for being on this webinar tonight. I know I went a little bit over this time, but I had a lot to say. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll stick around for some questions off air. Let me stop the recording.